Let's be honest for a second. Does this scenario sound familiar to you? It's 8 p.m. on a Friday. You've just finished a long work week. You have a whole list of things you plan to do. Read that book you bought 3 months ago, study some English, or just finally clean up your messy room. You tell yourself, I'll just relax for 5 minutes, scroll through my phone a bit, and then I'll get started. And then you pick up your phone. A cute cat video, a shocking headline about a celebrity, a girl dancing, a political argument. Your thumb just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. Suddenly, you look up. The clock says 11 p.m. 3 hours have passed. 3 precious hours of your life gone into the void. But here is the scariest part. How do you feel right now? Do you feel happy? Do you feel relaxed and refreshed like you thought you would? No, actually, you feel numb. Your brain feels foggy, your body feels sluggish, even though you haven't done anything physically hard. And deep in your chest, there's this dull sense of guilt, a strange emptiness. You feel kind of disgusted with yourself, but at the same time, you just want to keep scrolling. Welcome to the paradox of the dopamine age. Never before in human history have we had so much entertainment. Movies, games, music, social connection, everything is right there in your pocket, ready to serve you 24/7. In theory, we should be the happiest, most excited generation to ever exist. But in reality, we are the most bored, anxious, and unmotivated generation. We are losing interest in the things that used to make us happy. An afternoon walk, a conversation with friends, or even the taste of a good meal. Everything just seems bland, flavorless, like you are looking at the world through a gray filter. Why is this happening? Most people will tell you it's because you're lazy, you lack discipline, or you're just addicted to your phone. But I'm here to tell you a different truth, a truth that might actually make you feel a lot better. You are not lazy. You are not a failure, and there is nothing wrong with your character. The problem lies in the biological machinery inside your skull. Your brain was not designed for this world. It is being poisoned. It is being bombarded by stimuli so powerful that it has to protect itself by shutting down your emotions. That feeling of being bored with life, of not wanting to do anything, that is actually your brain's defense mechanism. And the good news is, you can reverse this process. In this video, we are not going to give you cliché advice like just throw away your phone or be more mindful. We are going deep into the engine room of your brain to understand exactly how dopamine works. I'm going to give you a scientific blueprint, a specific roadmap to detox your brain, reset your reward system, and most importantly, help you find that feeling of genuine excitement when you wake up in the morning. Before we start fixing the brain, we need to understand exactly where it's broken. And to do that, I need you to forget everything you've ever heard about dopamine. If you search for it on Google, you'll see people calling dopamine the pleasure molecule. They say that when you eat a piece of cake, when you win a video game, or when you get a like on social media, your brain releases dopamine and you feel happy. Sounds logical, right? But it's completely wrong. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure. Dopamine is the chemical of desire. This difference might sound small, but it changes everything. Let me tell you about a famous experiment on rats. Scientists blocked all dopamine in the brains of a group of rats. Then, they put a bowl of food right next to them. What happened? The rats would still eat if you put the food directly into their mouths. They still showed signs of enjoyment. They still licked their lips when tasting sugar. That means they could still feel pleasure. But if you moved the food just a few inches away, the rats wouldn't move. They had zero motivation to go get it. They would literally starve to death right next to a pile of delicious food. Why? Because without dopamine, they had no desire. They could enjoy the reward, but they had no drive to pursue the reward. Think about the last time you bought something online. You're scrolling through a website, you see a cool gadget, you imagine how cool you'll look using it, your heart beats faster, you hit the checkout button. That feeling right there is amazing, isn't it? That is dopamine peaking. But 3 days later, the package arrives at your door, you open the box, you hold it in your hands, and you feel a weird sense of disappointment. It feels kind of meh. Why did that rush vanish? It's because dopamine doesn't care about what you have. It only cares about what you want. Its only job is to drive you to act, hunt, gather, find a mate, or, in the modern world, scroll, click, and buy. And here is our biggest problem. Imagine the dopamine in your brain is like a pool of water. We call the average water level in this pool your baseline. This is the level that makes you feel normal and stable every day. Every time you do something highly stimulating, scrolling TikTok, watching adult content, eating sugar, you create a giant geyser that shoots water out of the pool. Those are dopamine spikes. You feel incredibly excited for a moment. But here's the law of physics. What goes up must go down. After every massive spike, the water level doesn't just go back to where it was, it drops below the original level. And when your dopamine drops below baseline, you feel empty, restless, and bored. So what do? You grab your phone again to try and pull the water level back up. The more you do this, the deeper you dig into the bottom of the pool. Eventually, the pool runs dry. That is when you enter the state of chronic boredom. You aren't sad, but you're not happy either. You just exist, drifting from one stimulation to the next, never feeling satisfied. So how do we refill this pool? The answer lies in a magical balancing mechanism of the brain that we will explore right now. To understand why you feel done with life after scrolling social media for too long, imagine that inside your brain there is a reward processing center. And right in the middle of that center is a seesaw. On one end of the seesaw is pleasure. On the other end is pain. Our brain always wants to keep this seesaw level. It's called homeostasis. When you do something stimulating, like eating a piece of chocolate or watching a short, dopamine is released. The seesaw tips sharply toward pleasure. You feel great. But the brain hates being off balance for too long. It immediately activates a self-correcting mechanism. Imagine this mechanism as little neuroadaptation gremlins. The moment the seesaw tips toward pleasure, these gremlins jump onto the other side, the pain side, to weigh it back down and restore balance. That is why that feeling of intense pleasure never lasts forever. It always settles down. But the real problem happens when you don't stop. You watch the first video, then the second, then the 10th, then the 100th. You are constantly stomping on the pleasure side. How does the brain react? It sends more troops. More and bigger gremlins jump onto the pain side to counteract the pressure you are applying. And then you turn off your phone. Suddenly, the pressure on the pleasure side is gone. But those gremlins on the pain side, they are still there. They haven't left yet. What happens? Slam! The seesaw crashes hard onto the pain side. This is exactly that feeling of numbness we talked about at the start. It's that restlessness, irritability, and emptiness you feel after the fun is over. Not because your life got worse, but because those little gremlins are still weighing down the pain side of your brain. But the story doesn't end there. If you keep this habit up every day, scrolling every morning, gaming every night, your brain comes to a conclusion. It's too loud in here. Imagine dopamine is like a megaphone screaming in your ear. If you heard that screaming every single day, what would you do? You would put in earplugs
to protect your hearing. Your brain does the same thing. When it's overloaded with dopamine, it automatically reduces the number of dopamine receptors. It literally puts in neuro earplugs. This is called tolerance. And here is the heavy price you pay. Once your brain has put in earplugs to handle the noise of TikTok or Netflix, the simple joys of life, like reading a book, watching a sunset, or focusing on work, become too quiet. They're just whispers. And with those earplugs in, your brain cannot hear those whispers anymore. That is why normal things feel boring. Not because they are boring, but because your soul has gone deaf. So how do we pull those cotton balls out of your ears? How do we kick those gremlins off the seesaw? We need to distinguish between the two types of fuel running your life: cheap dopamine and expensive dopamine. Cheap dopamine is what you get instantly with zero effort: scrolling, sugar, adult content. It tips the seesaw fast, but slams it down just as hard. Expensive dopamine requires effort first, reward later. Exercising, learning a new skill, finishing a tough project, taking a cold shower. With expensive dopamine, you are actually pressing on the pain side first, the fatigue, the discomfort. And guess what the brain does to balance it? It sends angels to the pleasure side to pull the seesaw up. The result? After the gym, you feel a natural, sustained high that lasts for hours. That is real recovery. The secret to regaining motivation isn't to eliminate dopamine, but to switch your fuel source from cheap to expensive. And to do that, we need a structured detox process, a blueprint to reset your seesaw.
So, we know how dopamine works. We know about the seesaw and the gremlins. But knowledge alone isn't enough. You need a strategy. You can't just say, "I'll try to use my phone less." Your willpower cannot compete with thousands of genius engineers in Silicon Valley, people who are paid billions of dollars just to keep your eyes glued to the screen. You need a system. And here is your dopamine reset blueprint, broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1, diagnosis. The first step isn't to quit everything at once. You need to identify your specific poison. Let's do this exercise right now. I want you to identify your toxic trio. Look back at your last week and find the 3 behaviors you do the most when you have free time, but that leave you feeling drained, regretful, or gross afterward. For some of you, it's TikTok, Instagram, and video games. For others, it's adult content, sugar, and online shopping. Do not judge yourself. Just name them. These are the sources of cheap dopamine that are destroying your baseline. Once you have your list, we move to action. Phase 2, the circuit breaker. Many people advise you to reduce gradually. Just cut back 15 minutes a day. I say, don't do that. For a brain that has built up a high tolerance, tapering off just prolongs the torture. You need a shock to the system. You need to trip the circuit breaker. I want you to pick one day, this coming Sunday is perfect, to do a 24-hour total detox. For these 24 hours, you will completely eliminate the toxic trio you just listed. No social media, no games, no movies. It sounds easy, but I'm warning you, it is going to suck. The first 2 or 3 hours will be fine, but by hour 5 or 6, the withdrawals will hit. You will feel restless. You'll feel itchy. You'll pace around your room. You will be incredibly bored. Your brain will scream at you, "Please, just give me a little hit, just one notification check." When that feeling comes, I want you to do one thing. Don't run from it. Sit with it. Tell yourself, this discomfort is just the gremlins jumping off the seesaw. That pain is the healing. Use that time to do low dopamine activities. Go for a walk without your phone. Clean your house, journal, or literally just sit and stare at the ceiling. Let the boredom wash over you. After 24 hours, or if you are brave, try 7 days, you will notice something magical. The sky looks bluer, food tastes better, your focus returns. The earplugs have been removed. But how do you keep this up forever? You can't live like a monk for the rest of your life. That is why we need Phase 3. Phase 3, Reintegration and Friction. We are going to bring entertainment back, but with strict new rules. We are going to use a powerful psychological weapon called friction. The rule is simple. Increase friction for bad habits and decrease friction for good habits. If you want to stop scrolling in bed, don't just leave your phone on the nightstand and hope you have the willpower not to touch it. Charge your phone in the kitchen. That is increasing friction. To get your phone, you have to throw off the covers, get out of bed, and walk into the cold kitchen. Your laziness will actually help you quit. If you want to read more, don't hide your book on a high shelf. Place a book directly on your pillow in the morning. When you come home tired and want to lie down, the first thing you touch is the book. That is decreasing friction. And finally, apply the vegetables first rule. You never let a child eat dessert before dinner. Why do you do that to your own brain? Do not consume cheap dopamine, social media, games in the morning. Set a law. I am only allowed to open TikTok after I have done 2 hours of deep work, or I can only watch Netflix after I finish my workout. Turn cheap dopamine into a reward, not a fuel source. By doing this, you are forcing your brain to work for its pleasure. You are shifting from passive consumption to active effort.
Imagine waking up on a Sunday morning, 2 weeks from now. You open your eyes. Instead of instinctively reaching for your phone, you just lie there, watching the sunlight stream through the window, and you feel peaceful. You get out of bed and make a cup of coffee. You smell the rich aroma. You take a sip and actually taste the flavor. Then you sit down at your desk. You open that book or start working on your passion project. And strangely enough, you don't feel like running away anymore. You feel engaged. You feel flow. That isn't magic. That is the natural state of your brain when it is healed. I want to leave you with one final thought. We have spent the last decade running away from boredom. We are afraid of the silence. We are afraid to be alone with our own thoughts. But the truth is, boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the soil where great ideas are planted. Boredom is the necessary space for creativity to speak. So don't be afraid when the seesaw crashes down. Don't be afraid of the silence. Welcome it, because it is in that stillness that you will find yourself again. Now, I have a challenge for you. If you have watched this far, I know you are serious about changing. I want you to commit to doing the 24-hour detox this week. Leave a comment down below with the keyword detox. Consider it a public promise to yourself and the Psych Blueprint community. Don't just watch, act. If this video brought you value, hit the like button to help spread it to those who need it. And don't forget to subscribe to Psych Blueprint, because we have many more blueprints coming to help you build a better life. Thanks for watching. I am Psych Blueprint. See you in the next video.